Well, good to talk to you. I'm Stephen Oliver. I'm joined by Greg Moody and by Mindy Godfrey here. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about the process that we go through with financial advisors, wealth managers on their marketing. And you know, we've worked with across different industries and different niches as well. But I've never seen a marketplace more cluttered than it is right now. I got an email from somebody who wanted me to be an executive producer on a movie about retirement for $15,000, and another one that's got the perfect LinkedIn sales script that they'll teach me for for $5,000, and another one who's got the perfect advertising mechanism for online marketing, and then there's lead funnels and all this other stuff. Greg, I mean, it's just mind-boggling, all the crap that people who don't know what the hell they're doing, or they're good, maybe they know a lot about Facebook, but they don't know a damn thing about the getting and converting a client for a financial advisor that they're trying to pitch and sell to people right now.
Well, and we get asked all the time, well, what's the one thing we should do for marketing? And there's a lot of those guys that come in trying to fill that space saying, here's the one thing you should do. And it's just the wrong question to ask. What needs to happen is, as you've always said, lots and lots of things going on all the time. So you have a strong business. Yeah. Any business is going to be weak if there's only one thing that they're doing.
You bet. Well, and if you lose sight of process, right? The process is get a targeted prospect, somebody who's qualified, that looks and feels like who it is you want to have as a client. Get them to raise their hand. Get them to raise their hand for something that looks interesting. It can be a report, it can be a book, it can be a webinar, it can be a lunch or a dinner meeting, whatever it might be. But get them to raise their hand and say, hey, educate me on what it is you do, and then move them through the process. Nurture them, so some of them aren't quite ready to meet with you right now, and convert to immediate appointment, and then have a really good closing ratio, right? So much of this stuff, it's not about again, you said, and maybe just paraphrase, it's not about the particular media, and it's not about there's the red pill here that's going to fill your practice by this one new thing. It's putting together a systematic plan with, having stolen from the idea of the Parthenon, a bunch of pillars like that picture behind me, a lot of pillars that are supporting your client growth objectives. And so that's what we do, is we help you start with what's our objective, what's our ideal client, where does our ideal client hang out, what's the bait that's going to get them to raise their hand and express some interest, what's the nurture and the education process in order to move them from I'm interested in this topic to, oh, you're the person who can help me solve this problem. So to position you as the expert and position you as the trusted advisor, and then the mechanism to get face-to-face, via Zoom or face-to-face in person, so that you can go through your presentation, you can discover their needs and opportunities, and then you can finalize onboarding them as a new client. So that's the process. What would you add to that, Greg?
Well, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. And so there needs to be enough ways that you're actively engaging in marketing or acquiring clients that they're all working. Because what happens is, sometimes we have somebody that's having a lot of success, let's say on LinkedIn, or they're having a lot of success on Facebook, but then for a month or two, it dries up. And then guess what? Their business dries up. You can't accept that. There's no reason to accept that. What we need to do is have enough things happening. So if some are home runs, that's great. If some are base hits, that's great. Maybe one week or 1 month that doesn't work, one of those activities doesn't work, and another month it's a home run. And so that if there's enough, as you said, the pillars of marketing, or like building that Parthenon, I think we got that from Jay Abraham, right? Yeah. So there's enough things holding up our business. with solid, good marketing strategies, then number one, we know some of them are going to work. Number two, the other ones will bring in some business. And number three, we can pay attention to which ones are working, get rid of the ones that aren't working, and be testing and improving. So that's what we help people with, is having enough of those things going on. And frankly, I think a lot of you guys in business are not going to be able to spend the time like we do figuring out which ones work, figuring out what the cutting edge ones are that you and I and our team spend so much time, analyzing and working. So we bring that also to the table, is here's the new stuff that seems to be working across the clients that we have. So this is one to try, or this is one that you may be modifying, or this is a way to modify the one that you think isn't working, but here's how you can make that work. Because what we also find is a lot of times people are doing an activity, you go, well, I tried this, but it doesn't work. Well, a little change in that strategy is what makes it work. And they're missing that 5% change that makes it go from really a lame activity that doesn't do much good to something that really is spectacular.
Yeah. Well, and so many of these ideas, I mean, the industry is rife with good ideas, but without a fully thought through implementation strategy, right? Somebody was asking me today, should I have a book, or somebody's trying to sell me for a $30,000 package to be an author and have a book. It's like, well, that's great. What is it specifically you wanted to accomplish with that? Well, what do you mean? Well, they just said I'd get more clients if I had a book. Well, okay. As part of a referral strategy, it's useful. It's a pass along. You could do 5 short books, and each of your clients can pass it along to their friends. As a lead magnet, it's useful if it's inside the conversation already going on in their head, is we create that as the offer and move it forward. But all of these things, there's got to be a purpose, right? I'm going to be a niche audience. Well, okay, what's the purpose of that? Well, I could go to their magazine, I could go to their events, I can develop their language. Well, great. But it's finding, again, each of those pieces, knowing what the purpose of it is, knowing what the foundational principles are underlying it, and get it to convert from somebody raises their hand to I nurture them and get them convinced I'm the right person for them, the trusted advisor that they're going to trust and view me as the expert, and then getting them to the point of we're solving their particular problems, and then I'm onboarding them as a client. It's having all of those pieces together. And again, I think I stole this from Jay, but he called it having all of your marketing to be systematic rather than episodic, where most people want the magic pill. And I've got this guy who just promised me we can generate enough traffic from LinkedIn. And then they go, private message everybody on LinkedIn. Well, okay. Maybe that should be a part of the Parthenon. Maybe they're the right one. Maybe they're not the right one. But it's putting all those pieces together to get a consistent flow of new clients, both from the external market, from the niche market, and then from within your clientele.
Yeah. And you got to consistently do this every month and have a plan for this over the long period of time. And that's what we see a lot of our clients that just start with us. That's one of their problems is they get to working with us and we say, well, what have you done for marketing the last 3 months? Well, this much. Or what's your plan for the upcoming month? Well, I haven't thought about that yet.
Yeah. And what we are really good at is let's start with this thing that's going to get new prospects at a reasonable cost. And then let's make sure we have a smooth process to convert them. And then let's do this other thing that's going to get enough new prospects at a reasonable cost, and let's convert them. And let's turn each and every one of these activities into immediate revenue. And then once we turn that into revenue, let's add another one and continue to scale.
Yeah, so that it's not overwhelming and you can manage actually building up this marketing program that's going to make your business successful, and at the same time get immediate results that are going to make your business profitable right away. So both of those two things are absolutely doable, and that's what as you said, we're really, really good at that, because we know you need to get some results right as soon as possible.
Yeah, and maybe the last thing I'll mention, and we've gotten a little wordy, but I kind of got started doing this because people had, they had taken 15 different things from 12 different coaches and consultants, and they threw it all in the pot, and then they ended up with a mess. And really, that's kind of where I started. Was you got all these different things, and maybe any one of which is maybe a decent idea, but you created a mess that's a lot of brain damage, too much expense, too little net profit, and too many moving parts. Let's narrow it down. Let's get rid of this thing that doesn't fit, and let's do one thing, then the next, then the next, that creates a consistent flow of new clientele that it's going to turn into immediate revenue, so we can cash flow it, improve the net profit, and minimize the brain damage. Mindy, you're talking to a bunch of people front end who seem to be scattered all over the place because of all this craziness, especially the various online crazy ideas. What would you add to that?
Well, I think you've really hit the nail on the head, because it is, people come in going, oh, well, I've tried LinkedIn and it didn't work, or I've tried Facebook and it didn't work. I talked to somebody last week who's like, yeah, last month I only got 3 leads on Facebook. And so much of it is even if you're in the right spaces, do you have the right messaging? Do you have the right tools to support that process? And that's really where this team comes in and understands all of these different avenues, whether it's online and LinkedIn or Facebook, or whether it's direct mail, whether it's client referrals. We have the knowledge to be able to look over and go, okay, this is why this might not be working. So let's try this. And then here's what else you have that should be working that we can help you get started. And then I think that's the other thing too, is actually being able to implement. That's the biggest piece. Is you've got lots of ideas and you've talked to lots of people, but until you start actually doing it, it's never going to bring in that new customer.
Yeah, and I might leave with one thing. We had a prospect, somebody who was looking at us and evaluating whether to work with us. And he actually had a friend who had worked with us for a number of years. And he asked him his opinion about working with us. And the quote I thought was priceless. He said, well, that guy sure found money laying around my business that I didn't know was there. And, the other quote was, by the way, that guy sure seems to turn shacks into mansions. I like that one. But the laying around the floor, finding money that I didn't even know was there. So many times there's so many unexploited opportunities, so many places where, you're getting this much business from something which really could be tenfold. And you mentioned that briefly before, Greg, but there's so many unexploited, or sometimes places where we've just been sloppy, that with us looking at it with the objective, knowing what the objective is and the end in mind, is we can find that opportunity for you. Oftentimes stuff that you just didn't even think about that's laying around in your office that could have been maximized.
Absolutely. Yep.
On that note, we'll leave it there, but thank you. We look forward to working together.